Hello, everyone. This is the Free American Press, with your host, Alexander. Before we begin, if you can please subscribe and like the video, that would be great. So, today we're going to be talking about the $111 trillion worth of debt the world has accumulated. So, I found this chart that looks really good, this picture, and it shows the world of debt. So, basically, let me make this bigger. It shows United States share of global debt 35%, and the debt has reached over $38 trillion in 2025. And then we see North America, which is basically headed by the United States debt-wise, is bigger than all of Asia. And that just means that debt per person in the United States is huge. We see people with credit card debt out of control. 25% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck right now. So people don't have that much money, and just the debt per person is astronomical. Basically, people are having a hard time even surviving because they have so much debt, and this debt is just getting bigger and bigger. And we see Asia, which has billions of more people than the United States, has less debt than North America. Though we see China has their debt per person is much smaller than the United States, but their debt is still 16.8% of the world's debt. And Japan, which is still a pretty big country, has like 200 times its GDP in debt. So Japan is in real trouble. We see Japan, they're not having much population growth. They're actually having a population decline. So their economy is actually starting to shrink. What debt is used for is to grow your economy. Use debt to grow your economy and grow it. And it's kind of like a scheme because you keep growing your economy with it. But then when your economy reaches stagnation level, such as Japan, it creates huge hurdles and huge problems for the Japanese people. And it's going to create huge problems for the United States because eventually this debt, all these countries are really not doing that much to rein in. I'm sure there's some countries that are doing something to rein in their debt, but most of these countries aren't, like the United States. So if we just keep increasing the debt, then we're just not going to be able to pay for it, or we will basically by increasing the money supply even more because the United States owns the printing presses. They can print however much money they want, so they can just keep inflating the debt away, making the debt worthless, but also making the US dollar worthless and your savings. So that's creating more and more problems. And we're also going to go into basically share of debt, 34%, like we said already, value of debt, 38 trillion, and then the percent of GDP. So China is actually relatively close to the US in percent of GDP, 125% versus 96% of their GDP. But Japan, that's the kicker, over 200% of their GDP, their gross domestic product. So a huge portion of Japan's money in their government is going just to pay their debt. Same with the US is becoming one of their major expenditures in these economies. So we see France, Italy, in the hundreds of percent. India, 81%, so it's lower than China. Uh, but since these countries are so much smaller, their value of their debt is much smaller than say China or the US because these countries don't have as much are not as much wealthy as the American countries. So Canada, basically, there's some countries lower than 100%, but a lot of these countries are looking pretty bad when it comes to debt. Some of them are looking better than others, like Tulava only has 3.6% of their GDP, which is relatively low. But these are countries that are really small, like Liechtenstein, very small countries, don't not have that much power in world affairs. So we're seeing this debt being a huge problem. I think what countries need to do is save, and we actually see countries starting to hoard gold and silver, and they're starting to hold commodities because what's going to be worth money when we're having huge amounts of debt? That is commodities, things that actually have tangible value. So that's what people are going to run towards when they're saving. So instead of saving in dollars, it's probably better to save in gold or oil or some other commodity or even food because your dollar is being worth less each day by the hidden tax of inflation. So you're better off saving in commodities and protecting yourself financially and doing that. Like your house is one of your greatest assets you can have. Um, but if you're in debt, that basically makes you a debt slave. which is a big problem for many Americans right now. It's basically putting you in a rat race. You have to keep making money, living paycheck by paycheck just to pay off the debt you have, and that's creating huge issues. So I hope this video was informative. The world is having a huge problem with the debt. So I'd just like to thank you all for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video. Hope you all have a good rest of your day. If you enjoy our content and want to keep seeing amazing guests and insightful conversations, please like this video, share it with friends, and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can contribute through Zelle or Venmo. Every little bit helps me continue bringing you interesting guests and great content. Thank you so much for your support.